Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. On behalf of the Hampshire Township Historical Society, I'd like to welcome you today. It is Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. We are here interviewing Steve and Linda Gustafson as part of our senior interviews, where we've been compiling interviews and covering historical facts about Hampshire and life in Hampshire in the past. So welcome and thank you for joining us. With that, I'd like to start by introducing our guests, Steve and Linda. Steve, if you'd like to start out, maybe born and raised, and tell us a little bit about your family history, the family business.
Yeah, we are born and raised in Hampshire. Grew up most of my life on Mill Street, right across from the old milk plant. You know, I could hear the trucks were banging around all the time and the milk deliveries. Then the trains going through all the time. But the family business, we haul fuel, you know, diesel, gasoline, and fuel oil. And my grandfather started hauling fuel with a Model T with a tank on the back. And first he started driving the Sycamore to have to get fuel before he got our own bulk plant and all that. And he had the 5-gallon measuring bucket. They would fill the bucket up, you know, and he'd climb a ladder and he'd dump it in the tank, come down, and he'd move slide a little washer over and go on to the next one and stuff. They kept going, and throughout the years we had it. Then my grandfather acquired a gas station right downtown. It was a mobile. He was Standard Oil to start with because that's all you could get. There was a Coney vacuum coming in. That was the mobile to start, and he was one of the original distributors in this area of the mobile. So that's how we got going, and grew up doing that. Started hauling fuel when I was 16. Hauled for 51 years out of Mill Street under 4 different companies, doing the same job, but just different company. One bought us out, and another one bought us out, you know, and Peterson's bought us out. Then Elbert Co-op bought their fuel business. Then CHS, it was a Fortune 100 company, bought out the co-op business, the fuel business, or bought out their business. And that's when I went from a name to a number. But just through all the years, just kept going, and saw a lot of people. We delivered to, like, families, you know, the fathers, and we delivered to their kids, you know, when they grew up and stuff, and delivered to a lot of the heating oil to a lot of the farms and houses around. Met a lot of dogs. So
I bet.
Yeah.
Tell us about your early years, when you were born, where you went to school, and when you graduated.
Well, I lived my whole life here in town. My family goes back to the 1800s with my father and grandfather and stuff, but I graduated from Hampshire High, and my dad graduated Hampshire High in 1939. I graduated in 1969, and my son graduated in 1999. But he's got 5 kids, but I don't think he worked it out so he has one coming up, you know, in 30 years.
Right.
Just grew up there, you know, and I had a sister, Linda, you know, and she was an older sister, so we grew up, and I started pumping gas, you know, at the gas station when I was 12 years old. And doing that, I started washing cars. On Saturdays, I washed cars, $2 a car in the gas station there one day. And between my junior and senior in high school, I bought a new car. Went down to Ingle Ford there and got a new Ford Torino, 390 with a 4-speed and stuff.
What year was it?
1968.
68 Ford Torino.
Yeah, first year they come out, yeah. Roared around town a little bit with that. Had a lot of fun. So, you know, we just grew up, and, you know, like I said, I was pumping gas when I was 12 years old and stuff. And, you know, back then, that's when you wash the windshield, change the oil, or check the oil, change it and all that, air the tires. First of the year, you always put new license plates on. So people would come in, you know, first of the year, it could be really cold out. Hey, can you throw these plates on too, you know? and you're out there in the cold, and back then it was just metal nuts and bolts, so they were rusted and everything else, and you're trying to get them off and on, put new plates on and stuff. Then right next to our station was back then, Hampshire tap, Bob Ross from it. And I had people pull in, get gas, go, that give me a change, and it'd give me $1.25, $1.50, whatever it was, and tell me, go get them. I'd have to run over to the bar, get a 6-pack, and have to tell Bob who was through, and they'd throw in a bag, and I'd run back out, hand it to the guy, because they didn't want to go in the tavern themselves and stuff. But, that's just the way things were then,
Where was the tap located in relation to the gas station?
Right next door, it's where the Hampshire Soldier is now.
Okay, and who operated that tavern?
Bob Ross at that time.
Okay.
I have a picture someplace with we still got a sign out there and stuff. But another thing, Hampshire was dry on Sundays. So at the gas station, we were open from 8 to noon on Sunday mornings, just for gas and stuff. And a lot of the old timers would come in and just sit around. And in winter summer we had some benches out front, and they'd sit at the benches, or in the winter, we had cases of antifreeze stacked up out front, and all the old guys would come in and sit in the antifreeze and stuff. But they all, to get up, wanted a beer or something, they'd get on the phone at the gas station, call over to the tavern, and Bob would come around, he'd come out his back door, and we had a back side window there at the gas station. They'd open it, he'd hand it through, and they'd give them their $1.25. They could have got it on a Saturday night, but I think it was just coming down and buying it on a Sunday morning, and all that.
Is the side window still there?
Yeah.
And it's outside on the north side?
Well, it's on the south side of where the shop is.
Got it. Did the gas station sell cigarettes at that time too?
We never sold cigarettes.
No cigarettes, okay.
We didn't sell candy or anything, we just sold oil products and, petroleum products and stuff that you'd use for your car.
When you were younger, did the station perform mechanical repairs, and if so, how extensive?
Yeah, we done the oil changes. First there was the shop right to the west of us. Then when in the late 50s, my dad built the shop where it is now, out where it faces State Street and that, because that was all just a grassy area then. And back when they had the Great Fire, that's what stopped it from going to the gas station, because that was an opening there.
Interesting.
Because it burned the west side of town, but it didn't go to the gas station part because it was an opening there. So.
And that's where the service bays are now located.
The service bays are now located, yeah.
Did you ever turn wrench in the station for your...
I done oil changes and stuff like that, and fixing tires, and the farmers would bring in a tire, and you'd have to fix that, Run the old tire machines, change oil.
Interesting.
In the winter, the cars would be all frozen with ice, and you're working on them, and the water starts dripping off from the ice, and a big clog of snow would fall off on you.
Good memories.
Oh, yeah. It was good because all the old timers sat through there all the time, and you got all the old timers, would talk back and forth, so you know who everybody was.
Sure.
Who done what. And one guy was watching for the other guy and stuff like that. But it was good as a kid growing up. It was good memories.
Who are some of the longtime employees that your father employed that you recall that would either work there or come in a lot?
Hank Chapman was there. He worked there for mechanic as long as I can remember and stuff. Then Ted, his son Ted and I went to school together, and we both worked there, when we were in school and stuff. And it's just, guys coming and going, and like Wayne Tupman, he'd pump gas at nights and stuff, and Terry Hinkle would come in and pump gas, and at night from like 5 to 7 or 5 to 8. We'd lock up for the night.
What were the typical hours during the week at the station?
I find stuff like that fascinating.
Sometimes we open at 7, but other times we open at 6. And we'd, and Hank would go home usually. The mechanic would go home about 4. Sometimes 5.
Okay.
We'd be just open for pumping gas and stuff from like 5 to 7 or 5 to 8. Somebody asked me what time.
Full day on Saturdays, or was that a half day?
We were open 6 or 7 till like 3 in the afternoon. But you go back to driving a Model A and, you know,
So tell us how
Yeah,
you
right. That's okay.
yeah, we were at the VFW, had a good times all the time at the VFW. There's either dances, receptions, and stuff going on all the time. Way back then, and we were down there, and my neighbor was Gus for being Gustafson. And her and her sister were there. I never really met him before, but her sister's nickname was Gus. And Oris Ruth was at by the bar. You know,
I remember growing up,
reception,
and
turned around,
when
"Gus, you
winter
want a
came,
drink?" And
I don't
said,
know if
me and her
they
sister
just
said,
didn't plow
"Yes."
or didn't do a good job.
You
You couldn't,
turned around and
I
we
couldn't
got
ride my
talking
bicycle
about,
in
you
the winter
know,
because the ruts in the street
Things
and the
from then on,
snow,
you know, we started
you'd go
going
right
together,
down.
yeah, but
You
that's
couldn't
how we
ride.
met, was down to VFW with Oris saying, "Gus, you want a drink?"
It all started with a drink.
Yep. And the VFW, I mean, all the people's background, they miss that so much now. But reception was still there, and there was always dances.
Paid a little or nothing.
Yeah.
For those of you
Jack
that
of all
might not
trades,
know,
master
the
of none.
VFW Hall was located where the current Getz's Auto Repair Shop is. It was a long-time institution in the village, hosting weddings and parties and dances and
Yeah.
high school reunions. It was quite the destination in its day. Do you?
Back when it started, it was an army barracks originally. It had a basement underneath it. The army barracks was like where you had the food and stuff, and down on the basement was the bar. Then they built the dance hall on next to it, but the bar was still in the basement. And the next step after that, they built a bar on like it was, you know.
Interesting.
But it started out as an army barracks.
I do recall the building that was wood and it went off perpendicular to the hall.
That was the army barracks that they got.
Interesting.
And that was the original VFW.
Did you serve in the military?
No, you got about 10. I went through the physical and stuff. Back then, when I was going, let's start up. When I was 18, you had to go register for the draft. We had to go register at the funeral home. And I always thought that was a little different when you registered for Army at the Frederick's funeral home.
Interesting.
Then they had the draft, and there was a lottery system. Once a year, they went from 1 through 365, and it was a national deal. They pulled out dates. And I was like 180 or something like that, or 180 something, but I had to go in for the physical, but they quit drafting about 15 numbers before they got to me. Okay. But I knew some guys that like got picked number 3 or something like that. They just went and joined to get what they wanted. But everybody would look at that, you know, that night was a big thing, watching that draft thing.
Of course. Dennis, do you have any suggestions on where Linda should sit or
But I knew
not sit?
some of the
Or
guys that won in and that.
In the car.
Had a few all back and forth at O'Hare, you know, when they're coming home or coming through, you know, flying through, we'd stop and see them.
What memories of your childhood could you share with us from either elementary or high school?
Well, we were kids growing up, you know, we just rode our bikes all over in the summer. We just rode our bikes, we played
That was-
ball.
yeah, in Hogan's Heroes. I know nothing.
Maybe once a week or once every other week, we'd all pack a lunch, we'd ride our bikes out to the forest preserve. That just got open, the original piece that we wanted at the VFW. Oh, Hap Miller
Here in town.
was the ranger out there then, you know, when he got into that job. You know, we'd ride out there, have lunch, we'd ride our bikes around in the trails. And he was always glad to see us, somebody to talk to and stuff, and we'd help him and stuff down there.
We were in the bar, there was
It was good time, you
dance,
know,
reception,
baseball going on.
Oris Ruth.
Also rode a shotgun with my dad in the field truck. Her sister, you know, that just go with us.
Yes.
And, you know,
And we got,
fire
you know, we
department.
met there, you know, so we'll go off.
That's-
Sometimes
The rest is
we'd
history.
go, he'd pull it, village hall, you know, you'd go and jump in the fire truck, you know. And he'd go, as a kid, throw me in on number 3, you know, that was her pumper. And I just a little kid standing up in the front seat, you know, with him and another guy driving the fire truck and a couple guys on back. Thought that was pretty neat, and have a few numbers of that, you know. And grew up, helped
My mom was nervous that first vacation. I went up north.
The fire station and the engines were originally located in the village hall. And currently, there's the clerk's office. I've seen some of the historic photos.
4 pieces of equipment in there, a couple of old engines, the old Model A.
Funny.
I got a picture of it with me now where where the fire station is now. It wasn't there then, but was the Methodist church, and they had a fire there. And the old Model A was hooked to the hydrant there. And it was pumping, and guys were up putting a fire out in the church, up in the thing. And the old number 2 was sitting there. And
I shouldn't be looking at you.
had a fire. Burlington come over too, and they had their old 1937 fire engine there.
The original Methodist church, that's located across from the current post office, is it not? Mm-hmm. And what year do you figure that was that they had a fire there?
I'm guessing that the early 40s. I'm not sure, but I think it was in the 40s there.
Okay.
Because it was just the Model A, and they had the old number 2 engine was a 1939 Ford. Burlington had a 1937 Ford. So I can tell you all the stories. And my grandfather was the first fire chief.
Yeah.
And all that. And my dad, he was on for over 60 years.
And how many years were you on the fire?
It was active fire, and now I'm a trustee on the department.
Why is that? You're taking them. You're behind the camera. Sure. We appreciate your service. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would you be willing to share with us some of your family history and where the primary fire station is currently located next to the post office?
Yes.
I was under the impression your family had some significant impact on the land acquisition and or the building, or both.
Well, he knew who owned it.
Ventilation.
George Heiston owned them lots. He was the implement dealer. Where the library is now, that was a implement store.
Testing,
My dad,
1,
we had
2,
to
3.
talk him into,
Can you hear
selling
me
to the
at
fire
this
department.
volume? And if
When
so,
they-
clear enough.
When they got to be in a district, it was in 1961, so in they had to buy their own get their own fire station. Well, they didn't have no money back then. So my dad put up the money to build this original station. It was 20,000, 28,000 stuff. Remember him telling Mom he was going to do that one day, But that's the way, he
What
just
is today? September
does things that and they got it, as they got the tax money in over 2 years,
16.
they paid them back.
I think you're right.
He got it going in that. I remember as firemen done as much work as they could, and themselves, and I was there as a kid, 10 years old or so.
Yeah, right.
I remember I got this. They put the gravel down before they cemented the floor, and I got to take the hose, and wet it up, little fire hose, and wet it all down so it could compact it and stuff, and drag the stuff around when I was a kid, helping build. No, but I wish I would have took pictures. I took all sorts of pictures of the new fire station, but didn't have no pictures of building it. Nobody thought to take pictures back then.
Your father then, it was your father that was involved in coordinating the land acquisition, but also in helping finance some fancy equipment there, Dennis. That's pretty impressive to have the foresight and the involvement to do that.
Well, that's the way they done things, It was everybody, if you didn't, you got whatever you could, and
There's a bronze plaque commemorating your father on the front of that fire station, is it not?
Yeah, they put it there when they remodeled the station and dedicated the station to it.
How fitting.
Yeah.
So tell us about your family, kids and grandkids, and
Oh, we grew up here. Then we got married. We got married right on the centennial, 1976, July 24th. It was when they had the 100th anniversary. They had all those doings going on at
Mine's
the
always
football
off.
field and stuff. And
I've been in too many meetings and had to go off, or embarrassing situations, in a class.
And we had a little limo dropping the girls
I just
off
leave
and
it off
stuff.
all the time.
Unbeknownst to us, after we come out from the wedding, they had horse and buggies.
Priorities.
We rode around town on horse and buggies, us and the wedding party. Alan Piskey had it, in a couple of horses and a buggy, and Mize Allen had some nice horses and buggies back then, and they took us around town and stuff. And then we had our reception down at VFW. So we got married. We had 2 kids, daughter Lori, then son Richard, and then they grew up and both all through Hampshire High School and that. And get married. My daughter Lori married Fred Marwick there, called Buzz. And they had a boy and a girl. And then my son Rich got married.
And he's got 5 kids, got married to Maggie Heining, but it wasn't a Hampshire Heining.
Clarification.
Clarification, yeah.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
Did any of your
On
two
behalf
kids
of the
follow
Hampshire
your
Township
footsteps in
Historical
either
Society, I'd like to
emergency
welcome you
response or
today.
fire department?
It is Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. We are here interviewing Steve and Linda Gustafson as part of our senior interviews, where we've been compiling interviews and covering historical facts about Hampshire and life in Hampshire in the past. So welcome and thank you for joining us. With that, I'd like to start by introducing our guests, Steve and Linda. Steve, if you'd like to start out, maybe born and raised, and tell us a little bit about your family history, the family business.
Born and raised.
My grandpa was the chief, and he'd driving the Model A. They took us, when they first got the Model A, they went to Burlington and all over. That was when
hanging around all the time in the milk deliveries. Then the trains.
He was living at home, so my grandpa had a fire phone, in the house. So
the family business.
he'd get the call, and they'd start the phone tree to get guys, But a lot of times my dad went along because my grandpa got him out of bed, and he got to get going,
With a Model T.
He started out
with a tank on
going, the old responded from home. So then we got electronics,
fuel before we
pagers
got
and
our own
stuff.
hog plant and all that. And
Went on from there,
he had the 5-gallon measuring bucket. They would fill
Hampshire.
the bucket up, and he'd climb a ladder.
I can see that.
dump it in the
Hampshire
tank,
still
come
has
down,
the Model A, does it
and
not?
Slide it
Still kept the
over,
Model A.
wash her over.
And it-
We
Go
had
on
it
to the next
refurbished
one.
and stuff.
And you run it in parades in the area, still to this day.
School run, it
Throughout
still
the years
pump
we had
water.
it, then,
Took it to one of the fire musters a few
gas
years
station
back, and
downtown.
got the trophy for coming the longest way, and got
He
the
had-
trophy
he
for
was Standard
getting
Oil
water the
starter,
quickest
that's all
without
you
the
could get.
greebles.
It's a cold vacuum comes
Started
in
drafting
every
water, and that you'll pump
Oh.
drafted quicker than the other. and
He was one of the original distributors in this area.
Don't make them like they used to.
No, I know.
That's how we got going. And grew up doing that.
So tell us, you lived in Hampshire. What was it like to raise your family here?
Hauled for 51 years
it's
out of
nice,
those,
there were 4
You
different
know,
companies. Still knew everybody.
same
When I
job,
grew up,
just different
everybody
company.
lived next to
One
each other.
bought
All of
us
them,
out, then
were
another one
World War
bought us
II, the
out.
Korean War. The
Peterson
kids
bought
knew
us
each
out.
other.
Then
Then
Melbourne Co-op bought their
When our
food
kids grew up,
business.
they
Then
had the same thing. Most all the
Fortune
kids.
100 company bought out the
Yeah.
co-op
You know,
business,
it's
the
all
fuel business, or bought out
Local stuff, schools were still small.
That's
back
when I
then.
went from a name to a number.
Like when I went to school,
But just through
there
all
was,
the years, it's
30,
going.
I think when we had to graduate, there was like 50 some
So a lot
kids
of
in our
people we
class,
delivered to, like,
which is was the
families
biggest
and
class
all the
back then.
dollars that we delivered to their kids, when they grew up.
90% of them, we started out in kindergarten
Didn't
together
know
and
what's going on.
graduated together.
Farms and houses
Stuff
around.
like that. A third of our class is
A lot of
gone.
dogs.
Wow,
But,
I bet.
yeah.
Tell us about your early years, when you were born, where you went to
Now my
school,
grandkids, they
and when
go
you
out to Hampshire,
graduated.
But there's
Well, I
2,000
lived my
kids
whole
out
life
there
here in
now.
town.
And they got their own group of
My
friends, and
family
they
goes back to
we
the
don't know how
1800s.
it's like we used to.
With my father and
But
grandfather.
everybody knew everybody back then. My parents.
High.
Everybody knew.
My dad graduated.
If you were riding around town, they knew who you were.
39. I
Or if
graduated
you're sliding around, roaring around town in your car, they knew who you were.
1999.
Had a way of
He's got
making its
5
way
kids,
back
but
to
I
your
don't think he
parents
worked it
sometimes
out.
too, didn't it?
So he has one coming up.
Or your kid was.
Right.
Remember the old,
I had
the old Hampshire Village Hall, behind the Village Hall, they had 2 jail cells
So
back in there. I never was in it, but I knew they used them once in a while.
Started
Put
pumping
some in,
gas.
Dad
You
got
went to
there,
gas
sure
station, I
somebody
was 12
got
years
there,
old.
get them out.
and doing that, I started
That was the old clinker back
washing.
then.
I had on Saturdays.
The
I
village
washed
still
cars.
has one of the cell doors, and
gas station
for the
one day.
sesquicentennial next summer,
between my
they're
junior
planning
and
to
senior
recreate
high
the
school,
jail
I
like
bought a
they
new
did in
car,
1976, and they're gonna build a jail and hang that door on it.
$3.90.
Some things don't change.
I remember once.
What year was it?
1960.
Guy knew in the jail.
68 Ford Torino.
He was mad about it, so he lit the mattress on fire. So they had the fire department there with the hose putting the fire out and stuff.
That's funny.
Now you shouldn't do that,
And stuff, and back then that's when you wash the windshield, change
Kids grew
the
up,
oil,
and
or check the oil.
You just had a nice
all that,
time.
or the tires. First
Tell
of
us
the year, you
about
always license
the
plates
social
on.
life in
So people
Hampshire,
come in, you know,
going
first
out
year
to
it could be
dinner,
really
or what
cold
restaurants
out.
would
Hey,
you
can throw these
frequent,
plates
or
on too,
what did you do for entertainment as a
Figured out
couple
they're
when
cold. And
you
back
and Linda
then
would
it
go
was
out?
just metal nuts and bolts, so they were rusted
Well, a lot of
and everything
times we
else.
go
We're
out.
trying to get them off and on, put new plates on.
Most, a lot of times, if something going on at the VFW on a
Right
Saturday
next-
night,
You know, our
you go down there as a
back then,
reception to
you know, Hampshire
Hampshire,
tap
sure.
out across from it.
back then,
Night
they,
people would pull
go
in,
out
you
to
don't get
eat,
gas,
go
go
to
let
the
give you
Bohemian,
change,
we'd go there
give you a
sometimes,
dollar
or else you go to the Blue
$4
Moon, even when I was, before I got
Come in,
married,
go get 'em
go to
some-
the Blue
have to
Moon
run
on
over
Saturday
to the
night.
bar.
Besides the big
Get a
hall,
six
they had
pack,
a
you
bar.
know, and have tell
Bar,
bar
and
booths
they
through
always
it,
had
throw
some
the bag
music in there on the
and
road,
back
people
out,
go
hand
to
it
the-
to the guy, you know, because they
the
didn't want to
Blue
go in
Moon
the
there.
tavern themselves.
Back in the 50s, I talked to you like
You know, that's just the way
here.
things were then.
They would all go down to Blue Moon when they were younger.
Where was the tap located in relation to the gas station?
Right next door
Or else
to
you'd just meet
where the
friends at a-
Hampshire Soldier lives now.
You know, local pub or
Okay,
something.
and who operated
You
that
got
tavern?
Rob Ross at
believe
that time.
anybody would stay home on a Saturday night.
Someplace with a, you know, a scope.
But then as we got older now, you gotta go someplace that, oh, do we really
Another
gotta
thing,
go?
Hampshire was dry
You're gonna
on
be home by
Sundays.
9?
So at the gas station, you know, we
How
were
things
open from
change.
8
Oh, yeah.
to 9 on Sunday mornings, you know, just for gas and stuff.
That's
A lot of
funny.
old-timers would come in
What,
and just
tell,
sit around.
tell us
In the
about
winter,
some
we
of
had-
the
or summer we had
significant
benches out
changes
front.
in the village that
In the
you've
winter,
noticed over the
we had
years,
cases
since
of
what, from when
energy
you
stacked
grew
out
up.
front, and all the old guys would come in.
Oh, just getting, just to town
They all,
growing,
you
you
know,
know.
get up.
it's-
wanted
And the
to
water
beer or
lines
something.
and the sewer lines
Get
got
on the phone at the
better,
gas
and, you know,
station,
they
call
kept
over to the tavern.
building on and
Bob would come around, he'd come
Some
out
of
his back door. and
always
have a
expanding
back
a little
side
on the
window
building,
there at
never,
the gas
you know,
station.
whole
They'd
lot
open it,
until
you
the
hand it
last
to
10
them, they'd
years
their
or
dollar
so.
a quart. You know, they could
was
have got on a Saturday
slow
night, but I
growth
think it was
and
just
all.
coming down and buying it on a Sunday
But I
morning.
remember when they had the cattle yards still in town.
Is the
up,
side window still there?
Yeah, yeah.
Keys
And it's
Avenue,
outside on the
Yeah,
north
it goes-
side.
Well, it's to the,
Toy factory
on the
was-
south side of where the
was
shop
there was
is.
some cattle, Stan Garbage had cattle yards.
Did the gas station sell cigarettes at that time too?
We never sold cigarettes.
No cigarettes, okay.
We didn't sell candy or anything, we just sold
Just going around.
oil products.
When we were kids, we always, there was a chicken dip, you know, when we were in high school and stuff. You run, or after we got to high school.
When
old
you
chicken
were
dip.
younger, did the station
And uptown,
perform mechanical
extra
repairs, and if
films
so,
all
how
that. Back then
extensive?
it was the pizza
Yeah, we
boy.
done the oil change.
They had pizza there. It was the first time they had like a pizza parlor.
First
and
there was the
you know, the
shop
soda
right
fountains and all
to the
that.
west
We
of
were
us.
going in.
My-
That's where everybody
In the
met
late
to hang out,
50s,
you
my
know,
dad
with
built
kids
the shop
and stuff.
where it is now.
That was the place to go, or otherwise we circled around town, we pull into Chicken Dip, spin around and go
Grassy
back
area
and
then.
circle around town.
And back when they had the Great Fire,
Or else we'd go to Elgin and just
that's what
circle the
stopped us
blocks
from going
down
to the
there.
gas station because that wasn't
After
open.
that movie American Graffiti.
Interesting.
I could almost name people to them characters the way it was,
Go to
and
the gas station
where they was
parking
riding around towns, and it's just like.
And that's where the service bays are now
Service
located.
bays are now.
And they had the
located,
movie
yeah.
theaters there to prop.
Did you ever turn wrench in the station for
I
your?
done oil changes and stuff like that.
And I grew up in
Fixing
Genoa, had a little
tires
movie
and-
theater when I was a
The
kid.
farmers would bring in a
I did.
tire, you'd have to fix that, you know.
Go there, then when we got able to drive, you know, it was the
Tire
two
machines change oil.
Starview and the Dundale, the old drive.
In the winter, the cars would be all.
Load a bunch of people up and go to the.
Working on
Go
them,
to
the
the
water
drive.
starts dripping off from the ice and a big clog of snow would fall off.
Might
on
have
it.
a few beers or, you know.
Good memories.
Always
Oh,
just
yeah.
was a bunch of
It
crews.
was good because
Like
all
on
the
the
old
Sunday,
timers sat
a bunch of
there all
guys
the
or
time.
gals,
You
who
got all
might not
the-
even
all the
been, you know,
old
dates,
timers,
or
you know,
just
talk
everybody
back
got
and
together.
forth, so, you know,
We'd go to Elgin, go to a movie, and go
Sure.
down to
Young
Large
one.
Pizza or something afterwards. And just
One
everybody
guy
got
was watching for the other guy and stuff like that. But it
A lot
was,
of familiar
it was
names.
good. As a kid growing up, it was good memories.
Who are some of the longtime employees that your father employed that you recall that would
Tell us
either
what-
work there or come in a lot?
Hank
What
Chapman
words
was
of
there. He-
wisdom
he was
or guidance would you
worked there
have for
for,
this, for us at this time in your
as
life?
long as I can remember and stuff.
Oh, for the kids, you
I
know,
went, son,
you know,
Ted, I
get
went to
serious,
school.
you know.
And we
You
both
sooner than I
worked there,
did.
you know, when we were in school
You know,
and stuff.
find out what you want, because you gotta make something of your life and go nowadays, you know, you just can't bum around.
Guys coming and
Get
going.
in a profession or something.
Wayne
Find
Chapman,
yourself a
he'd
profession.
pump
again.
gas at nights and stuff, and Terry Hinkle would come in and pump gas in, you know. at
Where
night.
they'll, you know if something happens, you can move on to another one. When we were younger, if you got a job with a big company, you were.
What were the
set for
typical
life.
hours during the week of the
Now-
station?
Open it,
My
sometimes
wife,
we
she
open
started
7, but
out
other
at
times we
Western
open at
Electric
6.
with
and we-
AT&T.
You know,
When the day after they
Hank
passed
would
the
go
Nashville
museum,
law, they
we
shut
can't go
it.
about
Said they were
4,
moving to Mexico.
5, and we'd be
Then she
just
got
open
a
for
job job pumping gas
Yeah,
at
Motorola
Motorola in
like
Harvard
5
when he
to
started that because she was working her phones and stuff. So
Full day on Saturdays, or was that a half day?
We were open
And
6
well,
or
that
7
didn't let, they
till,
didn't even get the plant half going, and they shut that down and went to China. And she got another job.
So tell us how you met your wife, Linda.
The push button
We were
transmission stuff.
at the
Allison.
VFW.
Transmission.
Good time.
Well, she was there for a while, then all of a sudden, they moved all the older ones to one line, you know.
And we were down there.
Right after that, they shut down that line.
In Gustafson.
And
I thought,
hired everybody, laid off
sister,
everybody that was
I
working,
never
and
really
brought in
had a
temps to
before,
take
but
her
her
place.
sister's nickname was Gus.
And that's just the way that it is
That
now.
oil stove was at by the bar.
Gotta have,
You know, and we were at the reception, turned
Have a
out Gus,
plan
you
what
want
you're
a
gonna
drink?
do and have a
And I
plan.
said, both me and her sister said, yes.
Good
We
advice.
turned around, then we got talking and met, you know, and
Is there anything you'd like to add that comes to mind? Do you want to share any of the materials that you brought with today?
Gus, you want a
Or
drink?
tell us a little bit about them? It all started with a drink.
In my folder here,
And the
My cousin.
I mean, all the people's been
Here,
around. They miss that so much.
they started out and we went to Europe and come back, and they
There was
have
always
a
dances.
family tree here from the 1800s. From the
For those
Gustafson
of you that might not know, the VFW hall was located where the current Getz's Auto Repair shop is. It was a long-time institution in the village, hosting weddings and parties and dances and high school reunions. It was quite the destination in its day. Do you,
family on it, historical.
It was an army barracks
January.
originally.
great.
It had
So
a
I'll bring a
basement
lot of
underneath,
this stuff
the army
down there,
barracks
and
was
if
like
anybody wants to
where you
look
had
through
the
it.
food and stuff, and down in the basement was the bar.
You know, if I had many
Then
good
they
friends
built
through
the
the
dance
years
hall
and
on next
stuff,
to
and
it,
some of
but
the
the
guys that
basement,
used to
the bar was still in the
kids,
basement.
still
And the
know
next step
pretty
after
good
that, they
about
built
that
the bar
now.
on it like it
We
was.
still do stuff together.
Interesting.
But it started out as an army
We used to
barracks.
camp out.
I do recall the building that was wood and it went off perpendicular
Yeah,
to
that
the
was
hall.
That was the army barracks. that they
Grandpa
got.
Bert Chapman, Ted's
Interesting.
grandpa. He was a night watchman,
VFW.
you know, for a while. Then he had the first
Did you
village
serve
squad car,
in the military?
1964
No, I
Ford
got.
Galaxy. We camp out in
I
my
went through
backyard
the
in Milton.
physical
Well, he'd
stuff.
come through the
Back
night,
then, when I was going,
stop, and we'd all jump in with him and go
when I
right
was
around
18,
town.
you had to go register for the
car, and he got the check
You
doors.
had to
and
go
stuff,
register at the
right around
funeral
half the
home.
night, and we get in.
I
By
always
4
thought
o'clock,
that
and crawl
was
back in the tent there, you know,
registered
act like we lived there all night.
Interesting.
Stuff like that.
Then they had the draft, and there was a lottery.
You know, in the fire
system.
department,
Once
you
a
had
year.
so many good
1,
times
2,
back then,
365,
most of it
and
was
they-
all paid on
It was
call.
a national
Yeah.
year, they pulled out dates.
You know, you had a good brotherhood then, you know.
And I was like one
they are
year
now,
or
but it's
something like that.
different, you know,
something
back
like
then.
I had to go
You
for a
weren't-
physical, but they
you were
quit
child.
drafting about 15
We done
numbers
stuff,
before.
but we
the-
saw tragedies. Now, some of
But
my
I knew some
friends,
guys that like drafted,
Yeah, I
got
had a
pick
couple
number
car
3 or
accidents
something like
I
that. They
went to
just
where
went and joined it
people I
like they
knew
wanted.
either got hurt bad or
But
died.
everybody would look at that,
No,
that
no,
was a
no.
big thing, watching that draft.
I know
thing.
once a 2-year-old
course.
girl died in a fire. He's over Burlington.
But
Well,
I
that's
knew
when my
some of the
daughter was
guys that
2
won
years
in
old.
and that.
You know, that makes you think coming home on that. You know,
And
one
if
of
you
the
haul
guys that died
forth
in
to
a
the
fire
area,
in a car
coming
accident.
home or coming through.
I used to use, we were horseshoe partners before I got in the fire department. I shot horseshoe for old stacks.
What memories of your childhood
He was my horseshoe.
could you share with us from either elementary or high school?
And I see that license
Oh,
plate,
the kids
that car
growing up,
rolling,
you know,
and I
they
see
just
that license
rode
plate,
our
and I
bikes
go,
all
"Oh, that
over or
license
something
plate."
like that. We just
Because back
rode our
then,
bikes,
when
we played
they got
baseball,
gas, you
you
had
used
to
to
get
get
a
a bunch of
mobile
kids to
card.
go play
You wanted to
baseball.
swipe it, you had to come out with a thing, and you wrote down the license
Maybe once
number,
a
and they had
year
to
or
sign
once
it.
every other week, we'd all pack a lunch,
Yeah.
we'd ride our bikes out to the forest.
Gosh, I know that number.
That just got open, the
You
original.
get it
piece
all
of
out, then you
forest.
gotta, help get them out.
Oh, Hap Dry Miller,
And we
you
had,
know, was
his
the
dad was at the fire station.
ranger out there that,
We
you
had a
know,
couple,
guy that job.
tell him.
We'd ride out there and have lunch, we'd ride our bikes around in the trails, and
That's-
he was always glad to see
Other
us, somebody
people
to
I know
talk
that
to and stuff, and we'd help.
Had a lot of good, you seen a lot of good happen for there, but there was some
Good
tragedies
times, you
too.
know, play baseball and all.
Nothing you could do, it just happened, didn't it?
Also rode shotgun with my dad in the field truck. You know, as a kid, just
My
rolling
son
with
got
him.
on and he was on a
And
few
you know,
accidents
being on
and
the
just
fire
says,
department,
you got to
the whistle
figure,
go off.
you didn't put him there, that was fate that
Sometimes-
got him there,
We'd go and
We
he'd
just-
pull it,
you know,
village hall, you know, you'd
Some
go and
things
jump
happen,
in
and
the
you
fire
just
truck,
figure
you
it out,
know.
try to do what you can do.
Took me as a kid, throw me in
have to
old
distance
number 3,
yourself and not take it
bumper, and I was just a
personal.
little kid standing on the front seat,
But it's
you know,
hard,
with him
you know,
and
I can
another
still
guy
see a
driving the
few
fire
things
truck and a
in
couple
there,
guys
you know,
on
you just
back.
don't.
Thought that was pretty neat, and have a few memories of that, you
Remember a
know,
long time.
You can't forget.
up
Yeah.
Yeah.
with that.
The fire station and the engines were originally located in the village hall. Well, currently there's the clerk's office. I've seen some of the historic photos.
1935 for my grandfather. My dad started going in 1937. I got to made it through 2003.
Where the fire station
61 years because he missed a couple. Well, they were shut down during the war. But I started going in 1962 when I did them all.
And it was pumping, and guys were putting a fire out in that church.
Grandkids go, they're fifth generation going to Indianapolis, fourth generation sitting in the same seats. I got a picture, it's 1994, my dad.
The original Methodist church,
myself, and my
that's
son are
located
well.
across from the current post office,
25
is it
years
not?
later, in 2019, I got a picture of
What
my son.
year do you figure
My
that
son
was that they had a
my age,
fire there?
And two of my grandsons that were 12 and 13,
but I think it was
sitting in the same seats. It's
Okay.
because that
all the
was
time.
just the model.
That's neat.
Then I went snowmobile. And I
was in
first got started snowmobile in 77.
in 1937, I think.
And we just snowmobile all over,
My grandfather was the first
We
fire
got
chief
going north.
and all that.
Started going up to northern
My
Wisconsin.
dad, he was off for
up in the
over
UP.
60 years.
But we
And how many
snowmobiled
years
around here.
were you
I
on the
put
fire
40
station?
on that Friday night.
And
3,
now
4 of
I'm
us.
a trustee on the department.
Have the snowmobiles, and back then it snowed
Sure.
all the time. You could have
We
snow
appreciate
from
your
Thanksgiving
service.
to Easter almost. There was
Correct
always
me if
snow.
I'm wrong, would you be willing to share with us some of your family history and where the primary fire station is currently located next to the post office? I was under the impression your family had some significant impact on the land acquisition and or the building.
Were you
Or both.
active in the White Riders Snowmobile Club?
I was one of the new members, when we first
George
joined.
Heisman owned them lots. He was the implement dealer. Where the library is now, that was an implement store.
Brett Schneider, he was there on the
And
first.
my dad knew he had it, talked him into, sell them to the fire department.
Well, I had a snowmobile when they got to 98 because they had back surgery.
So in 6
Figured
they had to buy their
I
own
don't
fire,
want to
get their own fire
popping
station.
along and all of a sudden.
Well, they didn't have
come
no
along.
money.
We still go to the meetings.
My dad put up the money
Something we
to
always
build
do.
the original station. I forget his
How long has the snowmobile club been active? When did it start? Any idea?
It started, I think, in 79 or after the big snows of 79, 78, 79, 79, 80 and stuff. And we started going, that's when we started. Well, you had to ride the snowmobile to help
Firemen
get some
done as
people
much
out,
work as they
they're
could.
trapped in their cars and stuff.
And
And then some of the policemen would borrow them and we'd ride with them. and
Kid,
they'd
you know,
go out
10
and
years old.
They had to go and check
And I
on some
remember I got
cars
this,
and stuff.
they put the gravel down before they cemented the
Because
floor,
back
and I
then,
got to take
I
the
mean, they
hose
had
and
to
wet
take
it up, fire hose,
terrible
wet
stick
it
deep
all
snow.
down so it could compact and
And
stuff.
you plow the roads and there were
drag the
sometimes
stuff around
10
as a
feet
kid,
banks.
help 'em build it.
People were driving with their
No, but
cars
I
and
wish
they
you
put
would've
these
took pictures.
bicycle
I took all
flags on
sorts
so
of
you'd
pictures
see
of the
people
new fire
coming.
station, but
And there were some
we didn't
wrecks
have no
and
pictures
stuff.
of building it, nobody thought to take
Remember
pictures.
going out with John Finley,
Your father then, it was your father that was involved in coordinating the land acquisition, but also in helping finance the construction of it. That's pretty impressive to have the foresight and the involvement to do that.
Well, that's the way they done things.
You feel there's been a climate change and there's less snow now?
oh, there's definitely less snow.
Got whatever you could,
I mean, it was snowed all the time.
There's a bronze plaque commemorating your father on the front of that fire station, is it not?
Yeah,
Zero,
when they remodeled the station.
The cars didn't start the battery dead, so we'd have to start. We'd
How
go-
fitting.
We'd be all day starting cars. Cold,
So tell us about your family, kids and grandkids and...
We grew up here, then
Sure.
That's what
we
you
got
got.
married. We got married right on the centennial, 1976, July 20th.
Pull that hose around through the snow banks. They
They
go
had
right
the
on
100th
tanks.
anniversary, they had the big doings
just
going on at the
part of
football
life.
field and stuff, and we got married
Interesting.
that night in a Lutheran church on.
Anything else
Willard
come to
Street.
mind that you'd like to
And we
add?
had a little limo dropping the girls off and stuff, and
Oh, not.
unbeknownst to us, but after we come out from the wedding,
Yeah.
they had horse and
Probably
buggies.
not. Probably after I get to go home.
We rode around town on horse and buggies, us in the wedding.
I'll try to remember things if I write a few
Now,
more
when
down.
Pisky
I'll try
had
to
it,
bring it up,
you know,
when they have it.
and a couple of horses and a buggy and a Mizell and
No, I've been on the
nice
township
horses and
board,
buggies
too.
back then. I knew.
And I was
around
been on
town
the
and
board
stuff.
since we started.
Then we had our
Senior programs
reception
up.
down at the VFW.
And I'm really proud of that because we got probably for a town our size, we got one of the
We
best
had
senior
two
programs
kids,
there is around.
daughter Lori, then a
son,
with
Rich,
all the activities going, rides to medical
they grew up,
appointments.
both
Things
all
for
through
people to
Hampshire
do.
High School and that.
Our biggest thing is getting people to come the
Mary,
first time.
my daughter Lori, married
Once we get them there and meet the people
Mark
and stuff,
there
but getting
called
them,
Buzz.
I'm not old,
They had a
I'm
boy
not
in
going
there.
down to the senior center,
and then my son
We had
Rich
a lot of
got
fun down
married.
there. Playing
He's got
bingo,
five
was down there
kids, got
today with
married
bingo
today.
and stuff, we had ice,
But
and
it was all
and stuff. We go meet.
Clarification.
Lunch out, probably once a week, we go someplace to
Five
eat.
kids.
Culver's.
Did any of your
Or
two
you got
kids
a
follow your
restaurant
footsteps
out.
in either emergency
ride,
response
some
or
people
fire
have
department?
bus.
My
Go
son,
on there.
yeah,
And
he's
some people
started
drive
out in
themselves.
Hampshire, paid on call and stuff, but he wanted
For
to end
town
up full
this size,
time
we got a very
Bartlett,
good program.
and he's a battalion chief in Bartlett.
Well, they have quite a fleet of vehicles for
His son,
hauling
Ben,
people now, don't they?
Graduated his last year from high
Car,
school,
transit,
and right now he's in
Bought a new
EMT
transit,
school
ourselves.
over in Sycamore. He wants to get in the fire service, and that
Plus, I
EMT
think
school that
it's
he's going to
13 or
fire
14,
school.
and it's got,
And if he starts
wheelchair
out in
lift.
Hampshire, even at part-time, he'll be the
Use that
fifth
to lose a
generation in
seat.
Hampshire.
That we have.
Neat.
Well, would be the fifth generation in service.
Try to do as much as we can.
That's great. What are That's some of the trips fantastic.
But
the township has sponsored to ball games or
My
different?
grandpa was in chief, and he
County
drove a Model 8.
we
when
don't
he
go
took
to the big
it.
ball
They first
games.
got the Model 8.
I used to run trips to the
That
Brewers game
fire
and
trucks around.
bus trips to like the
And
White
he used to live
Sox
at home,
games.
so my grandpa had a fire phone.
I started
in the
that
house,
in the
so
80s.
He'd get the
The
call
first
and
game
he'd
I
start
went to
the
the
phone
White
tree
Sox
to get
game,
guys,
I had a bus
but a lot
today.
of times my dad went along.
Box seat
My grandpa got him out of bed, and we got to get
for the
going.
bus
you know?
and for refreshments on the bus, it was 22
We
bucks.
started out with, I'd go in and go to the old
Now it's
responded from home.
I don't do it anymore because it's too much money. It's $125 a seat, and that's not the best seat around, you know.
Went on from there, and just.
And it's tough getting going. Both the
Hampshire-
township, we
through
go,
the years.
I can see that.
They go to-
Hampshire still has the Model A, does it
last
not?
night we were up by Harvard to
And it,
We had it refurbished and stuff.
Apple Place.
and you run it in parades in the area, still to this day.
It'll still run, it'll still
Yeah,
pump water. Took it to one of these little
going
fire
to
musters a few
Milwaukee
years back, and
next
it
month,
got the trophy
drive up
for
back the
coming the
same
longest
day.
way, and it got the trophy
One of
for
the
getting water
people
the
that-
quickest.
one
We
of
was out
the
the
women that were
Greenville.
always at our
Yeah,
township, she just
started
moved
drafting
up to
water,
Milwaukee
that
by her
pump
family
drafted
and
quicker than the other
moved
engines
into
did.
assisted
That route.
living. So the crews.
Don't make 'em like they
They're gonna
used
stop
to.
A couple places, but they're gonna stop, pick her up, and they're all going out to lunch together.
So tell us, you lived in Hampshire. What was it like to raise your family here?
Now and then, one
Oh,
night.
it's nice, you know.
Last
You
year we
knew,
went to the Delavan.
still knew everybody. You know, when I grew
You
up,
go around looking.
everybody lived next
But
to
you
each
should get
other.
a-
All of
you
them,
get a
you know,
warrant,
World
what
War
you
II,
do,
the Great War, and the kids knew each other.
Next afternoon.
Then, when our kids grew up,
It's
you know,
great. My mom
had the same
uses their
thing, you knew,
services
you
as
know,
well.
Most all the kids in town.
So,
And, you know, it was all.
well, if you don't have anything
stuff,
else,
you know, schools were
I want to
still
take this
small back
opportunity to thank the both of you
Like when I went to
on
school,
behalf of the Hampshire Township Historical
there was
Society.
30 I think
Thank you
when
for
we had to
joining us and
graduate,
sharing
there
your
was like 50-some
family
kids in our
history
class,
and your
which is
career
one
and your
was the
family.
biggest class back then.
It was great growing up around here, you know.
90% of
A lot of
them, we
friendships
started out
through
in
the years
kindergarten
and
together and
family
we
memories.
graduated together. You know, and
We
stuff like
appreciate
that.
you sharing.
A third of our class
Thank
is
you.
gone.
And thank you for joining us today. There will be more series and upcoming programs available on our website. Make it a great day.
Now my grandkids, they go out to Hampshire, you know, but there's 2,000 kids out there now, and they got their own group of friends, and they don't, you know, you don't know all the kids like you used to. But everybody knew everybody back then, and you know the parents. You know, everybody knew, if you were riding around town, they knew who you were. Or if you're sliding around, roaring around town in your car, they knew who you were.